Joe Biden, the U.S. president, visited Saudi Arabia earlier this summer despite the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and soaring gas prices. Biden had to protect the oil. America urgently requires economic growth. In a startling turn of events, the Saudis then announced a 2 million barrel per day reduction in crude oil output that was directed especially at the United States. In stark contrast to what Saudi Arabia advised China last year, the Saudi prince reminded America that it should solve its own energy issues. Our first focus will always be to ensure China's energy demands are met, not only for the next 5 years, but for the next 5 years, but for the next 50 and beyond. Saudi Arabia is rapidly moving away from the U.S. and will expand production for Asian countries, particularly India and China. The biggest consumers of Saudi oil now are Asian nations, and the Saudis have even greater goals. Join the BRICS alliance to influence the U.S. dollar's future. The BRICS network, which consists of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is a potent alliance that accounts for more than 40% of the world's population. Additionally, there has been an intriguing change in how the United States is perceived across the world in recent years. Rewind to 2017, when Pew Research discovered that a lot of nations see the U.S. strength and influence as a serious danger. Take note of some of the nations on this list, such as Canada, Germany, France, and Spain. These nations rank among the U.S.'s closest allies. Many nations at the time were concerned about the direction the United States was taking under President Trump. Today, the internal and foreign policies of the United States are considerably worse. Considering the unrest at home and the erratic nature of American politics, nations like Saudi Arabia increasingly want to stray from American influence. Saudi Arabia's consideration of joining BRICS demonstrates its increasing independence in its relations with Washington, while also defending its own energy interests. Now, the Saudis actually started preparing for their membership in BRICS on August 20 and 21 when they inked a military pact with Russia. Saudi Arabia has relied on the United States for military defense since 1945, but the Saudis' decision to unite with Russia was the first sign that they wanted to become more integrated into the BRICS group. The trend of the dollar strengthening will pick up speed after the Saudis and maybe additional OPEC nations are accepted to BRICS. China will be crucial to the BRICS group's effort to create a new global reserve currency since it has created the most sophisticated central bank digital currency. The worldwide financial center of Hong Kong and a brand new cryptocurrency initiative named the Bridge to Breako initiative named the Bridge to Break Up. Dollar hegemony are the two main cities for China's master strategy. The U.S. does not have to be abandoned by the BRICS network. It merely needs to offer the new bridge in Hong Kong as an option. The main component of China's long-term dollarization strategy will be digital currency. 025710 031919 means vectoring the transition is well underway, and as this Bloomberg piece from last month demonstrates, the Chinese yuan just surpassed both the Australian dollar and the Swiss franc to rank as the 5th most traded currency globally. Saudi Arabia is investigating options with Beijing to price part of its oil sales in Chinese yuan, a move that would challenge the US dollar's dominance of the world petroleum market in an effort to hasten this process even more. Since 2006, there have been discussions with China about UN-based oil contracts. But this year, the pace of those discussions has picked up as the Saudis have grown increasingly dissatisfied with the U.S. security obligations to defend Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is upset with the United States for failing to support its participation in the Yemeni civil war and for trying to negotiate a deal with Iran over its nuclear program. More than 25 of Saudi Arabia's oil exports are purchased by China. If those purchases were made in yuan, they would immediately improve the value of the Chinese currency. The Saudis are also thinking of incorporating future contracts with REB values, or the Petroyuan, to price even a small portion of Saudi Arabia's daily oil exports of over 6.2 million barrels in anything other than US dollars would be a significant move. Since 1974, Saudi Arabia has only traded oil in dollars, accounting for almost 80% of all oil sales worldwide. However, because to U.S. sanctions on Russia, in reaction to the conflict in Ukraine and Iran over its nuclear program, utilizing dollars has grown risky for China. The world has witnessed the stronger ties between China and Saudi Arabia in recent years. China has assisted the monarchy in developing its own ballistic missiles, provided nuclear program consultation, and started funding Prince Solomon's important infrastructure projects like NEOM, a cutting-edge new metropolis. The development of the connection between China and Saudi Arabia is the main plot of this. As its economy has evolved over the past 3 decades, China's oil imports have increased significantly. Saudi Arabia sold 1.7 million barrels of crude oil per day to China in 2021, followed by Russia at 1.6 million barrels per day. The dynamics have drastically shifted, as one senior U.S. official has noted. The United States' relationship with Saudi Arabia has evolved. The Saudis are receiving several attractive incentives from China, which is currently the top petroleum importer in the world, to swap oil for yuan is one of the motivations. Moving away from oil sales based in dollars, according to some economists, would diversify the kingdom's source of income and may eventually result in the Saudi royal being repackaged into a basket of currencies, similar to Kuwait's dinar. As previously noted, the BRICS network is aggressively looking into methods to use their currency basket to build a new global reserve currency. It would not be seen unfavorably if done now while oil prices are high. According to Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank senior economist Monica Malik, it would be viewed more as a strengthening of ties with China. The main takeaway from today's video, according to Ali Shihabi, a former executive at a pro-Saudi think tank in Washington, is that the kingdom cannot ignore China's desire to pay for its oil imports in its own currency. This is especially true after the US and EU forbade the Russian central bank from selling foreign currencies from its reserve stockpile. Saudi Arabia will very certainly quit treating oil entirely in US. Dollars at the Saudis are admitted to BRICS. Since 1974, the US has enjoyed a historically long period of dollar hegemony in the oil trade. We must all become more astute and begin making plans for a better, longer-term future as the world becomes more polarized, unstable, and uncertain. I've teamed up with Masterworks to share this significant tale of international trade, as I indicated at the beginning of this movie. And it's crucial to consider what this new reality means for investors as the reliance on the U.S. currency declines. The rising dollar, which has made international trade extremely challenging, is one of the reasons China and other Asian nations are looking for alternate currencies. The unprecedented losses this year, which have destroyed nearly $36 trillion in equities and bonds, have been greatly influenced by the soaring dollar. It's so bad that those who follow the model portfolio's allocation of 60 stocks to 40 bonds are suffering their worst losses in a century, losing more than 34s just this year. Retail investors fared even worse, suffering a terrible 44 loss. What then can we do as we look forward to this uncertain future? The findings of a fantastic report on alternative assets recently released by Morgan Stanley are fascinating. Morgan Stanley asserts in a report released just 2 weeks ago that a portfolio containing alternative assets might experience less volatility and greater return. The average piece of fine art is selling for 26 more at auction on average than it did the year before, according to Morgan Stanley, who is bullish on fine art as an alternative investment despite historical losses this year, and in other sectors, not even the rising dollar can lower it. In fact, Bank of America notes that it might even be advantageous because a weaker foreign currency makes it easier for collectors to shop for more expensive works abroad. I think Masterworks is in an incredible position because of this, which is why I keep working with them. You can diversify your investment portfolio using this fantastic platform. Masterworks enables you to invest in pricey works of art without having to have millions of dollars available, and the outcomes have been astounding. Since I last discussed Masterworks in my video, they have sold another picture, this time for a net return of 20, 1.5s. This sale is the 6th of their 7 to generate over 20 net returns, which is just amazing. For the most of 2022, I have been dealing with Masterworks, and I'm still in awe of the platform, the people, the professionalism, and the service they offer to regular investors like you and me. There is now a wait list, and Masterworks has been collecting additional paintings to keep up with demand.